What are the three biggest challenges that the sheriff's department faces here?
I think our office is not any less unique than any other law enforcement offices throughout the country. One thing that I think is a challenge is to bridge that gap between law enforcement and the community it serves. I think that's a challenge within itself. And a lot of that comes to communication, and that's on both sides, because so many oftentimes we see only the negative things that goes on, the interactions through whatever lens, through the media or whatever, social media, what have you. So I think that is in itself is a huge challenge. Another challenge is to recruitment, to have individuals within, this is such a noble profession.
Right.
And to have individuals that that mimics the community it serves. And I'm talking about as far as different ethnicities, genders, what have you. I think that in itself is a challenge, because as we all know that many times that you're more comfortable around like-minded people or people that look like you.
Right, right. In terms of staff complement, do you have enough person on board to cover all the areas that you have to cover here in the county? We can always use more. One thing that since I've taken office that I always talked about was being fiscally responsible. And to restructure certain things, that way we can actually run more efficiently as an office to serve the citizens of this community. So we're still, working on things, but the thing is, we just can't look at just getting numbers when it comes down to people. We need to make sure we have qualified people that can actually do the job. And the recruitment pool is thin because of some of the things you see that goes on throughout the country when it comes to law enforcement, but it's a profession and the community they serve. So therefore you don't have a lot of people that wants to be involved in this profession anymore. So therefore when you have a very limited pool to choose from, and when you have that, that's when you start to see some of the negative things that goes on as far as the interaction between law enforcement and communities. What are some of the main challenges that you would say your deputies face on a day-to-day basis on the job in the community? What are some of those challenges that they face?
Is to let people know that they're actually part of the sheriff's office as well. Sir Robert Peel once quotes that the law enforcement is the community and the community is law enforcement. And one really cannot do without the other and be successful. I think that again, we go back, we focus on the differences we have. We have more in common than we do differences. And if we could start trying to change that focus on those things, I think we'd be a lot more successful.
Okay. Your department is also responsible for the jail here in Macon
Yes.
County.
Yes.
What are some of the challenges in that area?
Some of the challenges that we experience in the jail is to be able to provide proper services for individuals. We're starting to see more and more as far as mental health issues, and to be able to provide those services for those individuals to seek the proper treatment. And reason being because we want them to be successful as well. We don't, to help as far as recidivism, as far as individuals coming in and out of our facility, the same individuals. And I think the reason that happens is because that we don't have enough resources out there in order to give people proper treatment.
In terms of numbers, if you could quote a number, what amount of person you would say your deputies have to deal with in jail, say on an yearly basis or even monthly basis?
How many individuals they would deal with?
Yes.
Oh my goodness! Just in the jail itself?
Yeah.
Well, we average probably around about 300 in our facility, maybe a little over 300. My facility actually holds 425.
Okay. You spoke about mental health and drug abuse of persons in the jail with mental health, and some are there for abuse of drugs and all of that. As a department, what are some of the measures or things that you put in place to treat with these type of individuals?
Okay, so we actually have our healthcare facility that actually provides healthcare for us. Is Crossings Healthcare, and it's such a perfect marriage for our community and my facility. And the reason being is it is a community health improvement clinic.
Right.
So therefore, majority of the individuals that we actually incarcerate or are in our facility, once they get out, Crossings will have a dealings with them as far as providing medical services for these individuals. Something else that we actually have started here in our jail is called the Restore program. What this is, it's a program where you have individuals that fit a certain criteria, and they sit in a group and they actually learn about their addictions. As far as different math, we have Project Read that comes into our facility to help them as far as with GEDs and different things like that. And then once they're in the Restore program, the new treatment facility that just opened yesterday, they will have almost like first dibs as far as wanting to go into that program in order to help them. So those are some of the things that we really focus on, is trying to help individuals to be successful once they leave the walls of our corrections division.
Okay, and you spoke about that facility that just opened yesterday. From your department point of view, what impact do you think that having such a department will make on the community in terms of dealing with these people with drug abuse issues?
I believe it'll have a huge impact, and this is the reason why I say that. Is first, I tell people you can't judge someone until you walk a mile in their shoes. So it's so easy for someone that doesn't have an addiction could try to judge someone else. Is that fair? Not at all. Because there's always an underlying issue that probably pushed the individual into the situation they're in. So I believe that just for people in Macon County know they have the resources in order to help them, they have somewhere to turn when they may feel like their back's against the wall, and to realize they actually have support from this community, including law enforcement, that we want them to be productive and be, productive citizens within our community.
Okay. So we're talking about mental health. So let's segue. Recently, maybe last week, Decatur passed a law not to allow pot to be sold in their city. I think Forsyth did the same. We're waiting to see what the other cities in the county will be, how they will be voting. But even though these cities voted no, come January 1, pot will be legal in the state of Illinois.
Correct.
So people can get it to buy in Champaign, Urbana, and stuff. How will the sheriff department or law enforcement in a wider range will be dealing with this issue?
Well, we'll deal with it just like we deal with any other situation. My main concern is to make sure the citizens in this community are safe. And that's, so we'll do our due diligence to enforce the laws the way they're written, and to make sure that if individuals are on the roadway, that they'll be safe, and to do our due diligence to, at the end of the day, public safety is what I'm here for. And like I said, when I took office, that was one thing I promised to do, is try to do my best to keep this community safe, and I'll do it to my dying days.
So I can't help but to think that with it being legal in the state, could you say somebody, for instance, could still be charged for driving under the influence. How and I don't know if you know how to work this as yet, because how would that be proven that that person is under the influence of?
Well,
cannabis?
we have officers that are specially trained. DREs, what we call them, they're drug recognition experts. Also, we have some officers that are phlebotomists. So therefore, they can actually do blood draws. Therefore, you can actually, somewhat prove that an individual is impaired. And that's what we will do. It's just about trying to make sure this community is safe.
Okay. In terms of this particular drug or any other drug, for instance, do you support the idea of it being legalized, or to the it's to the adults, but to be legalized in general?
I swore to support the laws of our state,
Right.
and I'm going to do that. That being said, to make sure that it's done in a safe manner. Personally, whether I support it or don't support it really doesn't matter. My whole thing is if whatever I could do in order to make sure our citizens are safe.
Okay. Is there anything else in terms of issues that you're dealing with now that you would like the public to know about, in terms of the sheriff's department? Is there anything that the department, I would say, is in need of to make their work more light or more effective?
The thing is building relationships, and that's one thing that I often tell people. I grew up here. Decatur and Macon County is home to me, and I love my community to no end, and I'll defend it to my dying days, like I said before. But I just want to be able to share my story, to let people know that I grew up in the inner city of Decatur, 800 block of East John Street. I've never forgotten where I came from. And one thing I want to tell people, like every last one of us, we've have a foundation that has led us to where we are. And for people to realize that if you look at, it even looks like me, that's not in this profession, that if you look at statistics, just like many others, that I shouldn't be where I'm sitting at right now. And some of the things I talk about is, I was adopted as an infant and was brought here to Decatur. And I had a sister that's 7 years my elder. And it was something that my mom never, shied away or never hid from us, that we both were adopted. And about 22 years ago, I got a letter in the mail, and it asked, he said, if you answer yes to any of these three questions, you're the person I've been praying for these many years. The first question was, was you born in Memphis? The answer to that was yes. The second question was, do I have a sister named Michelle? The answer to that was yes. And the third question was, is my mother named Joyce Brown? Again, to that was yes. So I got on the phone, I called my sister Michelle, and I said, Michelle, I got a letter from this girl, and she says she's our sister. And she said, what's her name? I said, Vanessa. She said, that's our sister. And I never knew how my sister knew this. So I ended up calling this number, and it was a Washington, D.C. number, and it was my sister Vanessa. I found out that I'm the baby of 10 children. Yes, and the ironic thing out of it all, 2 of my sisters are federal agents.
Wow.
Yes, and then my sister Michelle also is in law enforcement. She worked for the California Department of Corrections. So I often tell people it's in my DNA as far as what I do. But my dad died when I was 1, and my mom was on a fixed income. So she was left to raise both my sister and myself on that fixed income. So this is what I talk about. I say, so you look at it, and that's why I talk about it's statistics. I shouldn't be here. I was adopted. My dad died when I was 1, so he left my mom in a single parent home, per se. I grew up in the 800 block of East John Street, or so people will say the hood, and yet I'm here. But I had a very strong mother, and I had a lot of support in the community as far as different people. And one of my mentors And I sit here now just as humble I could be, was Roger Walker Jr. Roger was the very first African American sheriff elected in the state of Illinois. And he was someone that knew me well before I knew myself. And for me, I always tell people you never know who's actually watching you and the impact you may have on them and the community. And I used to see Roger in a sheriff's office car when I was probably, say, between 10 and 12 years old, down in Mueller Park area. And and just to see how he interacted with people within the community. And I was just like, wow, at that moment, at that young age, I knew exactly what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be like. You know, it was Roger. And I never had the opportunity to tell him that. And so I'm literally following in his footsteps. So that in itself, I always tell people, I say, you go to the cemetery and you look at, you know, someone's headstone, you see the beginning date and you see the end. And that middle is that dash. That dash is your life. How do you want to be remembered?
Right.
So those are some of the things that, you know, I want people to realize that I have a story just like everyone else. And why I do what I do is to try to help. It's not to harm anybody. The one thing I don't, you know, have fun out of as far as seeing people incarcerated at all. I don't. If we could do something to reduce the recidivism rate or to try to do something in order to help people have the tools to help them succeed, that's what this is all about for me.
Yeah. As you talk, I know that recently there has been some upsurge in crime, specifically shooting here in Decatur, to be specific, from the level of your department, because I know you have the Decatur Police Department.
Yes.
But from the level of your department, how concerned are you guys, and what are you doing to see how much you can curb what is happening?
Just like, you know, with the city of Decatur, the sheriff's office is very concerned as well, because this is our community as well. As far as to make sure that we form that partnership with the Decatur Police Department, not only just the police department, but the community. Because, you know, at the end of the day, they know what's going on because they live in these neighborhoods or what have you. And to try to offer whatever, you know, means we can in order to help and let them know that we're a resource. At the end of the day, we all want the same thing, and that's a safe neighborhood. Everybody wants to be able to go outside and to play or to walk and feel safe doing so. So the things that have us as far as fearing that may happen, I mean, it's the same as them as well. Because they just need to realize, everyone needs to realize this is all of our community. And, you know, for it to succeed, it takes all of us. It's the old saying, it takes a village. And, you know, just law enforcement, we're just part of that village. We're a resource. And that's what we want people to realize, that you can come to us, you can speak with us. And I think that's why it's very important, it's vital to be able to form relationships, lasting relationships with people in the community.
Finally, apart from building relationship with the community, what could you said is the Sheriff's Department short-term goal? What is the short-term goal for the department, say, over the next year?
The short-term goal the next year is right now is to make sure we're fiscally responsible, to make sure that we will be able to have services and to be able to just sustain those. But everything, I mean, we're on the right track as far as doing that as of right now. We'll continue to go down that road. I tell people, you know, when I was applying for this job, things I said, I just didn't say it just to be saying it. There weren't empty promises or what have you. And open yourself up to listen, and open yourself up to be able to take criticism. And again, you have to, you know, be able to communicate, because maybe I may be looking at something differently. I don't know everything, but you know, if we work as a team, you know, we'll figure it out. And it takes all of us.
Okay, and finally, what's the long-term goal?
Long-term goal is to be a successful sheriff here in Macon County, to make sure our citizens are safe, protected, to to be a model county throughout other communities, throughout not only just this state but through the nation.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.